The Red Shirt Warriors, a Sioux legend adapted by Beth Southwick. The sun beat down mercilessly upon Hota as he ran. His mouth was parched and his stomach grumbled loudly, while his legs and lungs burned from the exertion. He had been running for nearly 2 days. He could hear the river before him, and he welcomed the respite he would soon find from the heat and thirst he suffered. Still, he felt blessed. He had been chosen for this quest, and he was determined to succeed. Hota was a Lakota Sioux. His Native American tribe lived in the northern plains of North America. Within his tribe, there was an elite society of warriors known as the Oglala-Wikipi, or Red Shirt Warriors. Once every 4 years, the society extended an invitation for 2 men whom they felt would be worthy of joining them. The initiation required that each candidate pass a rigorous test of endurance. Before leaving, they were instructed to run to a particular cliff a considerable distance from their village. There they were to obtain a red sash that would be tied to a rock and bring it back, all within 4 days. The only thing they were allowed to take with them was a knife. Any food or water would have to be procured along the way. Hota was the second to run. Dakota had returned with his sash 2 nights back, exhausted, hungry, thirsty, and barely able to stand up. Without stopping, Dakota immediately entered the teepee where the Red Shirt Warriors were assembled. Hota waited without, with bated breath. Would Dakota pass? Would he be admitted into the society? Hota knew that obtaining the red sash was only half the battle. The second half was this test. What that test was, Hota could only guess. The decision as to whether a warrior was admitted or not into this elite society was up to the Oglala-Wikipi. If a candidate wasn't accepted, the warriors never explained why. Finally, Dakota, friend to everyone, came out with a huge smile on his face. He had passed the test. Now 2 days later, Hota approached the roaring river and collapsed into the cool water. He drank deeply and allowed the water to cleanse the sweat off his sticky skin. This was the hottest time of the year, and the run exhausted his strength. Still, he wasn't finished, and he had no time to lose. The cliff loomed above him. The sun had already dipped behind it, throwing him into shadow. He should leave now to make it back down before nightfall. Hota wiped the water from his eyes and looked up to survey his path. He would need to run up a considerable hill before he would reach the outcrop forming the cliff. About halfway up the summit, a lone tree grew impossibly out of the shale rock. He would make that tree his next stopping point. With that decided, Hota sloshed across the river and began to run again. The sun was ruthless. Exhausted and hungry, Hota willed his legs to continue the steep climb. Just to the tree. Then I can rest for a few minutes. Overhead, a great eagle called his greeting. Hota looked up to see the majestic white head soaring high above him. He found strength and ran harder. Finally, Hota reached the tree and fell at its trunk. Lying on his back, he looked up to see if he could catch a glimpse of the bird when he saw something red tied to a low branch. A sash? What is it doing here? Pulling himself to his feet, Hota inspected the cloth. It was the sash of the Ugolutwikapi, the same sash Dakota had brought in. Did Dakota put this here for him so he wouldn't have to finish the climb? He was not called friend to everyone for nothing. Hota hesitated. Perhaps I misunderstood the instruction. Maybe this sash is the one I was meant to get. Is there a sash at the top still? What if I get all the way up there and find out that this is it? I'm already running out of time and that climb looks awfully long. As he considered what to do, he heard again the cry high above him. The eagle is strong. Hota means strong. I must finish. I will go to the top, regardless if this is a sash or not. If there isn't one there, I can retrieve this one on my way back. Hota again willed his legs to move as he climbed the last steep incline. Step after step tested every part of his endurance. His lungs burned, his legs felt like lead, his head felt light, and his great thirst had returned. The rock under his feet soaked up the heat like an oven. Even through his moccasins, Hota felt scorched from top and bottom. Still, he pushed himself forward. When he finally reached the top, Hota used his hands to pull him up over the ledge of the cliff. A hot gust of wind blew his long black hair behind him as he struggled to his feet. And there it was, tied to a rock. A long red sash waved its welcome. Hota whooped with joy, despite his exhaustion. He quickly untied the sash and held it high in triumph. From this vantage, Hota could see forever. Curls of smoke rose far away to the east, his village. To the west, the yellow orb of the sun began its last descent, leaving a streak of brilliant orange, red, and pink across the horizon. Hota took it all in for a moment and knew, whatever the final decision of the Ugolutwikapi, he had done his best. After a deep breath of satisfaction, Hota rolled the sash into a tight bundle and tucked it into his breechcloth. Then he headed home. Two days later, at sunset, Hota nearly stumbled as he entered the village. The smell of roasting buffalo greeted him, and his stomach growled longingly. Still, he wasn't finished. He didn't stop running until he found his way to the teepee where the warriors were gathered, waiting. Hota entered silently and stood as straight as he could, facing the men. They looked on without expression. Hota held his breath. Finally, the eldest warrior spoke. Hota, take the sash from your breechcloth. Hold it high above your head and let it unfurl. Hota obeyed and watched the long red sash unroll and touch the ground at his feet. He stood erect, still as a statue, awaiting the final word. Welcome, Hota, brother, red shirt warrior. The Ugolutwikapi taught their new brothers the secret of their initiation. True, the endurance was a huge part of it, but the real test came in the sash they brought back. If Hota had taken the sash from the tree, it would have been too short and not fallen to the ground when he unfurled it. Only the sash at the top proved to the warriors that their chosen candidate had indeed finished the whole course honestly.